Gentlemen, good morning. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, let me allow you to introduce yourselves from my immediate right. Yes.
All right, so thank you very much. My name is Benin Clinton Baffour,
Mm,
University of Ghana, Accra City Campus, local SRC president.
great.
My name is Abdul Salam Mohammed, Head of Academic Affairs, UGS House.
Great. And
I'm Kwame Amoh Ntow Fianko, UGSRC president.
all right. So these are three great gentlemen from the president of the SLC and then the city campus with academic affairs head. Let me just welcome you first time on my show actually.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is the forum. I'm Ellis Ferdinand, and it's a great opportunity meeting student leaders. We were once in the student politics, and we are now on radio, so it's a great opportunity. Let me just go straight to the head of academic affairs. Teachers went on strike. What was the feel? How was it? Do you enjoy yourself as students? Because I know when teachers are on strike, it's an indirect strike for students. How was the feel like?
Well, thank you very much.
Mm.
I think the feeling was one of a mixed feeling.
Mm.
Some students were quite happy, some were not. Usually, what happens is that some are enjoying because it gives some people the ample time
To study.
To study. Some people do other stuff and all that. So, but some of us too were a bit, unhappy because final year students are preparing to graduate. National service is looming, a whole lot of things, and also coronavirus and all that. So, some were happy, others were not. But all in all, it was one of the things that hit the student body very seriously.
Mm, mm, mm. Good. I'm looking at it from a perspective where I find myself as a student. I remember when I had the message and the MPhil students, we are not coming for lectures because so and so, but you're giving some assignments to do, and we're like, we want to graduate, just as you're saying. But we also look at another perspective, President. We also look at the perspective that the purpose of that strike action could benefit me in the future. So let me allow that to happen. As president of the SRC, do you think that makes a lot of sense?
Well, as an SRC president, I have a
Mm.
mandate. I speak for students. I don't speak for lecturers or the
Mm.
university management. But then, I think from a layman's perspective,
Mm.
if we are to take into consideration what UTAG needs from government, I think it sort of creates an avenue for people to, venture into lecturing because you made mention of the fact that you're an MPhil student. If
Yeah.
I heard you right. And I don't know whether you probably want to be a lecturer at a
Mm.
point, but if at
To a
any
larger
point in
extent.
time, yes, I mean, if at any point in time you would want to venture into lecturing as a profession,
Mm.
of course, if government is able to meet the demands of UTAG, then you know that you're actually venturing into a profession that pays very well. So I think you have a point from that perspective.
Mm.
Yes.
So, but from the student perspective, you think it affects students negatively?
It's more of a mixed blessing because when you go to UG, currently we've rolled out a modular system,
Yeah.
which means that students are coming in batches. We have two cohorts of students,
Mm.
and ordinarily we spend about 16 weeks for a semester, but because of the modular system, we are now spending 9 weeks.
Mm.
So if some students are jubilating or they are happy with the fact that there is a strike, it is not necessarily because they want to relax or maybe just be lazing around, but of course they just think that it's something that has afforded them ample time to adequately prepare themselves for their exam. So you can look at it from both
What
angles.
prevents a student from preparing for exam? That strike would be the best option.
Well, I think this particular year has been a peculiar year, if I could use that word. It's been a different year on its own. If it was to be maybe the past years, I think they wouldn't have a case because having 16 weeks to prepare yourself is enough.
Mm.
But this time around, I mean, from a layman's perspective, if you were to use 16 weeks, I mean, from level 100, particularly the final year students, if you've been using 16 weeks to cover a semester, and because of COVID-19 and the accommodation deficits we have as a university, the school decides to roll out a modular system that says that you guys are going to use just 7 weeks to study. I don't think there would be making a wrong statement if
Let me take you back to historical antecedents.
Okay.
Since I was born, I've never heard a strike action being a TF issue for students. We've always been happy since birth. Unless any of you could tell me that when you were young, teachers are on strike, we've been crying. It has been naturally a blessing to students. I want us to look at that from, I don't know if it will be backed by any research, but let's look at that from the scholarly perspective. What calls for that sort of enjoyment or joy naturally when teachers are on strike, or a teacher is even sick? Naturally, students just feel happy.
I think students in the unnatural disposition are individuals that like freedom. Most of us are youth, and the young ones basically want to have freedom. So, and it's something that cuts across, not from the academia, but from
Natural. It's a natural phenomenon.
they find themselves in. So, if the lecturers are there, it means they'll be going for lectures. It means some aspects of their life will be what's restricted. They'll be having assignments, they'll be having researches and everything. But if it happens that lecturers are on strike, it means that they would have that freedom to do whatever they want to do. So I don't see anything wrong with that. It's something that is natural among human beings. So
Great. Let me go to Baffour. That's a city campus. How is city campus, Baffour?
Thank you very much. A very good morning to all students out there. It's been as the situation has been. I cannot give a very clear definition to how the campus is, but we are faring well.
You're faring well. Now you've been the strike has been, I think, 2 weeks.
yes,
Almost 2 weeks. And how has almost 2 weeks without lectures been to you at the city campus?
2 weeks without lectures has actually been, on the other hand, a sort of freedom opportunity for students, an advantage for students to equally carry on with the academic works, and also fast track activities to prepare themselves ahead of exams. And on the other hand too, it's been a state of dilemma for students, because you are not certain with when a reviewed calendar would be in, or a reviewed academic year would be made known, because communication wasn't clear so far as discussions between UTAG and the government was concerned. So it hasn't been so interesting to the student body, but for now I'm certain that things will get back to normal and we can proceed.
Has there been any negative impact?
Oh, it has, because already the academic calendar was compressed, just as rightly Ntow said. It had been compressed, and it's putting so much pressure on students. So we've gone through almost all these stressful moments, and to end up not writing our exams at the end of the day, just because there is a disagreement between the teachers body,
which isn't your
the
business
government.
actually.
Oh, it is our business. It is our business. But
good. Let me come there.
We should be a priority in the midst of this two institutions or two bodies, because at the end of the day we are the ones suffering at the other end.
Let's look at legality. If I employ you as a teacher, it is the business is between yourself and your employer. Why should students suffer? Would there be any legal basis for students to sue teachers for exempting for stopping what they are expected to do? What is the contractual agreement between teachers and students, teachers and the employer? Do you get a scenario?
Yes.
So
Let me give to head of academics to tell me.
Yes. You see, this question, a lot of people ask that question, but the thing is that as students, our contract is with the university management.
Okay.
Okay. And the university management contract is with their teachers. That is the respective UTAG bodies in the institutions. And UTAG has a contract with government, or say maybe the Ministry of Education. So we are a third party in the impasse. We are not in any position, or we neither do we have any legal powers to sue teachers or sue government. We can only maybe negotiate with our management, with whom we have a contract with, to maybe talk to their people, to perhaps reach a consensus that would benefit us all. But our contract is not with the teachers, it's with the university management.
So you have a contract with management, and management is to ensure that students are being taught. President.
Okay.
Now, your students that you lead have a contractual agreement with management, and the contract is that teach me for 9 weeks per the new COVID restrictions,
Okay.
instead of the 16 regular weeks. Now, out of the 9 weeks, you taught me for only 7 weeks because you had a disagreement with your employer, which is none of my business. I suffered the consequences as a student. Now, the teachers are saying that they can reschedule academic calendar, which also could affect your plans as a student, because COVID already destroyed the plans, and now you are going to be surprised with a new plan due to disagreement between two people that has no business with you. What happens to your students? Don't you think that to a larger extent management needs to tell you something that could benefit you as students?
I think you have a point, but then you spoke about the fact that management has to tell us something. On the 3rd of August, we wrote to the school and they came up with a communique.
Okay, so you wrote to management.
Yes, we wrote to management.
That's good.
They should come clear on their position on the matter. So we came clear with. They came clear on that, and they indicated that examinations were suspended, despite the fact that the school was not closed. And I think there were certain things that they actually communicated to us. I've actually forgotten them. But then again, looking at this whole UTAG strike issue, it's affected students very well, because we have students that are local. I mean, we have local students that probably should be traveling by the end of August, or maybe by the 24th to 25th, and most of them didn't anticipate the strike happening. Most of them actually book, or they pay for, they pay for tickets. These expiry dates are almost due. So these were some of the concerns that.
That is a very critical issue. What happens to such people? It's serious. I haven't thought of that.
Yes.
That's those who come from outside the country to study here.
Yes.
What is the negative effect of strike on such students?
Well, for now, I don't know the mechanisms that have been put in place to address these issues. But if you have a ticket that is due on a particular date, I think the best you can do, considering the fact that now we are sort of certain as to what is going to happen, though we are not fully certain, but we know that very soon we will be starting our exams and everything. What maybe I think they will be doing is to speak to the respective authorities to give them an extension, because these are things that are circumstances that were beyond them. Okay, so these are some of the challenges that we've had so far, and of course we have UG students that they also work with budgets, and it's something that we can't turn a blind eye to. There are students that work with budgets. At a point, I remember some parents called me to tell me that they give their awards these amount of monies, and time is almost due, and they want their kids to come home. So I remember on the second week, I think the first day of the second week when the strike began, some students were parking out, and I saw videos and everything. So the challenges has been numerous. When it comes to issues like this, as an SRC or as students, we can't sue UTAG, because UTAG is more or less like a pressure group, if I could put it
to a larger extent, because they represent the teachers.
Exactly.
So you have a business with management.
Exactly. Now, our agreement, as my academic committee head said, is with the university management. That is true. But then again, if it gets to a point, or maybe if it had gotten, and this is not the first time we've seen UTAG strike. I'm told over the years it could go as long as 9 months. Yes. But if it gets to a point where maybe the SRCs need to come in, maybe we would have to engage the government. That would have been our best result, because UG is a public institution, and they also have an agreement with the government. So that would have been our best result, to speak with the government, to let them understand how it's affected students' lives and everything, and if there is maybe any mechanisms they would have to put in place to ensure that our students won't be largely incapacitated. That probably would have been done. So
now I want us to look at a futuristic discourse. Obviously, strikes happen, no two ways about that, but let's look at the future. In the next 10-20 years, you and I will be leading this country in one way or the other, and there shall be strikes. As students, you've had the effect of strike. You can't tell me that UTAG members weren't experiencing strike when they were younger. They also had the adverse effect of strike on them. They grew up. There are strikes. The same people who are even in government today, the same employers were once under strike negative influence. Do you get my point? As we are growing, strike shall continue. We can't say there wouldn't be strike, because You and I witnessed demonstration by opposition parties. Government in power, there's still demonstration. It means that strike will still continue. What is the future for young people like you and I, who may become productive citizens in the future, to prevent such strikes? What should we do as young people?
Okay, so I've actually gotten to understand that in life, we always take an inspiration from past experiences.
That's true.
We, as young people, we've been witnesses to so many things that have been happening in this country, both the good and the bad. And as individuals who wouldn't want the future generation or the younger ones those that would be young when we are old by then, we wouldn't want them to witness the same circumstances. What we should do, or what I would actually admonish every young student leader or anyone who has an ambition to lead this country, is to ensure that the right thing is done. If a concession or an agreement is reached with any entity, being it a public institution or anybody that plays a key role in this country, I think what we should best do is to sit down with them and ensure that the right thing is done. If we put all these mechanisms in place, these issues of unrest and people complaining about the state of the country and things like that will become a thing of the past. So what I would say is we should just ensure that the mistakes, or if I could, maybe for the lack of a better word, the mistakes that some people are making now, we won't repeat them when the time is due for us to be at the helm of affairs.
Now, let me come to Baffour. Baffour, I want you to add something to that, because it will surprise you that in the next 20 years we shall still beat issues like this. Personally, as a researcher, I've come to understand that politicization of education has had a negative influence on our system, our educational system. You've I don't know if you've witnessed the days of Okuchetu at news. I have witnessed that, and I could see how it was. And today he's in government. He was in government and he's not opposition, but he's in parliament. The rest of them, them, they are now into politics. Most of them from your institution. What they cried for is still happening. It means that what you are talking about today shall still continue. There should be a youthful ideology to break down such negative influences in the future. I want to hear from your perspective. What should be happening from the youthful perspective?
All right. Thank you very much. I think one thing that we need to understand is strike is the last resort in terms of getting clarifications or resolutions to issues. So the moment an individual goes on strike, it means that earlier deliberations and discussions had gone on that wasn't fruitful for them. So I believe what we need to do is that there is a need for us to ensure that there is extensive engagement and clarity to issues that come up. Leadership and politics is about communication. Your means and medium of communication has an influence on any action an individual may want to take. If you take a clear look at UTAG issue, it is about communication. They raised concern that there's been instances where they would even want to sit with the government and understand the government stance on the issue they are raising. But it was to no avail because communication wasn't going out well with them. And that is how that's why they decided to go on the strike as their last resort. So I believe that as youth we should learn how to engage our followers. Even as student leaders, if you fail to engage your followers very well, you fail to engage students very well, they lack information. And if they lack information, there is no other means of getting the attention they need than going on strike. We all know when UTAG went on strike, now they are everywhere. But over the years that they were trying to negotiate peacefully with government, they weren't getting the response that they need. So we should shift our ideology from always trying to use strike as our last resort, because in the developed countries, strike comes in when it becomes very intensive. You never have instances where you see people for the first time going on strike on an issue, unless probably it has gone for more than 10 years or 15 years and they know that that could be the only means they can get attention. So let us try to give more input in the kind of information we give out there. Your means and mode of communication could influence the outcome of any action that an individual wants to take. Currently, communication that took place between UTAG and the government has resulted this issue. This could have been done and prevented all these days or weeks.
Baffour,
from,
let me
Thank you very much.
yeah, good. Baffour, let me take you deeper.
All right, sure.
Politicization of the system has been a tough issue, and let me speak with scholarly terms. The public university bill, you heard of that?
Yeah, we did.
You saw how the teachers stood against that. Let me take you back. The introduction of 4 years senior high school in Ghana, the introduction of the term high school, were all backed by political interpretations. Let me open the discussion to a scholarly discussion. You know that before anything happens, there should be research, be backed by research, not individual opinions. If you look at the system we find ourselves, it's basically about political opinions than research. As a young person, these are one of the key reasons why our education system is like this. Because the change in curriculum, for instance, is based on political opinions that when we come, we shall change the curriculum. But don't you think that the kind of system we have hasn't allowed the literates, in quotes, the students, the teachers, the doctors, to think and reason through to understand political decisions?
All right, thank you very much. I think in a nutshell, what we need to know is that politicization of our educational system has done us more harm than good. That is something that is inevitable. You cannot take away in this discussion that we are having. I feel it is prudent that, you see, all these discussions that we are having here currently is as a result of failure of review of our constitution. It gives the constitution is a guideline to activities of the government and the nation. It is binding on every individual person. So it's not as if it is outside the discretion of the politicians to come out with such information or implement certain things by their opinions. The constitution that has been accepted as a document that we are going to work with gives them that mandate. So if there could be there could be a lasting resolution to this particular issue, there is a need to project a review of the constitution that is binding on everything, because at the end of the day, any constitution that is drawn within any institution of the university is subject to it takes an inspiration from the national constitution.
Yeah.
So if you visit almost all the institutions across the country, including even the leadership front, our constitution has a relation with the government. So most of the times you find out that students may be going through certain issues, and you see student bodies through the judicial board reviewing our constitution. At the end of the day, we may want to review it, but it may, one way or the other, fall outside the contents of the national constitution that we all have. So the best way to reduce or prevent the politicization of our educational system is to review our constitution. That will pave way for a permanent body or an independent institution to run our educational system, so that in decisions and information out there wouldn't be by political opinions, but would be based on research that has been made and information, adequate information that would be of positive influence to the generation we have today, the ones ahead of us, and the subsequent ones that would follow. So the best resolution to this issue is not about negotiating or even going on strike anymore. It is about reviewing the section or portions of the constitution that gives such power to political parties or political actors to decide for us.
Let me come to academic affairs. Before that, let me read this message from one lecturer, and he's saying that, Ferdinand, I like your questioning skills and the ability to to get more information from the students in scholarly terms. I wish that other journalists will look at things from scholarly terms than just opinions. I wish the students the best, but the issue is we are fighting for their future. Thank you very much. This is one of the lecturers from the University of Ghana. Now, there is somebody who is asking that. He's also suggesting if I can get these students groomed with deeper discussions so that it can help the nation's future. I'll do that. We are just doing that, and I'm sure subsequent discussions. Petras Ali is saying that students should demonstrate. Let me come to academic affairs. A lot of messages on my phone, but I'll be bringing them, I'll be just be interjecting with some of them. Lot of messages from lecturers. Thanks for watching our lecturers. It's great to watching. Wow, some things as well. Great. I'll be reading all, but let me come to academic affairs. Petrus Ali suggested a demonstration. Would that work, and how to be the impact?
Well, before I come to that, I want to touch on the issue of
the politicization of the system.
Yes, we've had these
Great.
discussions over the years, and still it's happening. You made mention of the times of the Honorable Akujetu Ablakwa, Haruna Idris and Co. But the issue is that, for me personally, I think the reason why we keep having these strikes, industrial action, is that, one, over the years, we've observed that most of these become rampant, and it becomes the order of the day, and it sort of loses its relevance. Every day people are going on strike. Every day everybody's going on strike. So it becomes nuisance. And you see, when that thing happens, government sort of takes a stance where they take people for granted. You see, so it's like, oh, they'll just make noise and go back to work. You get it? They drill the process, they delay, and at the end of the day, they go back to work and nothing happens. And this is backed by some of what we witnessed during.
So will this ever end? Because this has been the system.
So I'm coming to that. The thing is that the problem is systemic.
Okay.
I think it is not about the individuals. It's systemic. If the system is working,
so you came to meet the system, so you follow suit.
Yes,
because it has not been working.
It's not been working, and we also have to take notice of those who are in charge of our labor unions and how they interact between their people and government. Take the NLC, for instance, the National Labor Commission. In fact, they are supposed to champion the interests of these labor unions.
Yeah, but they are representing government.
Yes, so
that has been. So I think I buy into the systemic issue. That has been the nature.
The nature. So we have to move beyond just representing government.
Don't you think that the reason for them doing that is they've been appointed by government?
Yeah,
so then I come back to the issue of constitutional review.
Yeah, definitely. But you see, some of these things, we cannot take away the fact that, they shouldn't be appointed. The fact that you are appointed doesn't mean you're... Yes.
So it means that accountability is something we should look at as a nation.
Yes.
Even when you are appointed, you must work and be accountable.
Accountable.
So what happens if you are not working? What happens? Because in Ghanaian African politics, if the public says you are not working, the person who appoints you would never know. It is the public who will say you are not working, but the person who appoints you wouldn't see that. The person may only reshuffle you to go elsewhere, but not because of probably promises of political elections. If I promise that this constituency will get this for me and I'll give you the chance, I'm afraid that if I don't give you a job, I may lose elections. So politicians are looking at the future elections than future generation.
So that brings me back to how we apply our rules. Okay, the rules must work. We have appraisals that we do, and we evaluate some of these institutions, their performances and all that. You can't rule the fact that, because of political promises and all that. But nonetheless, as an individual, when you are appointed to a position, your duty is to serve the nation before the person who appointed you, although you report to the person, but the nation's interest must come first. And that brings me back to what you asked, should students demonstrate? The thing is that...
No, I didn't ask. Petrus Ali, he suggested
that should students... You see, the thing is that, are we demonstrating to what end?
How to be the purpose of the demonstration?
Yes, so the thing is that...
Don't forget, this is a suspended strike. It has not been called off.
Definitely.
There should be a distinction between the two. A suspended strike is not being called off. So it means that you can start learning and they'll tell you we are going back.
But that will be determined by the 1 month negotiation that,
maybe you may be on vacation, actually.
Yes.
But then I think we should be defending our racial proposals by then.
Not you alone. We are running a double track. Our
Good.
200.
So the 9 weeks.
Yes, they will still be on campus. Yes. So the thing is not over yet.
So it means that should 1 month end and then strike continues, it still has its adverse effect.
Yes, but
maybe on a different group of students.
The thing is that to demonstrate, not the hoya sort of demonstration.
Okay, so give me your definition of demonstration.
We can demonstrate leadership. Okay, we can demonstrate proactiveness by engaging the stakeholders that are responsible for some of these unfortunate events. Like my boss mentioned, engaging government. Okay, engaging the one who is responsible for all this mess, because whether it is good, the government is praised. If it is bad, the government is blamed. So as students and as leadership, when NUPS comes together, when the various SRCs come together, and over the years, University Students Association of Ghana, UTAG, it has been very dormant. Okay, so and this
not only UTAG, GRASAC has been dormant too.
Well, you know, to some
UTAG became very vocal due to challenge.
definitely.
So now the question is, how can student leadership from all levels be proactive and not be politicized?
So you see, that is why we have to revive the student institutions, like I mentioned, UTAG, NUGS, and the various SRCs.
I always don't like hearing the word nukes. You know why?
Why?
Let me say it live on air. I think I said that before on radio. I see nukes as a joke.
Wow.
President, convince me. Baffour, convince me. You get my perspective.
Oh no, the thing is that
I see
maybe it's
nukes
because of the
as a joke. You know, let me give you a reason.
okay.
I was in a meeting with some leaders, GRASAG, UTAG, TAG, Teacher Training Association of Ghana, and some other people. So I raised an issue that the current president of UTAG, of GRASAG, is the former president of GRASAG UW, the lady. When she was elected, so now have you heard anything about GRASAG before? UTAG president was on my show last 2 weeks. Since he was elected, have you ever heard of anything UTAG before? So let's look at how to project student leadership to the next level, because you only hear of nukes. As for nukes, I don't like the word nukes because nukes is a branch of politics. It's a branch of national politics. I've witnessed for a decade, almost getting to 2 decades of nukes elections. It's just an NDC MPP propaganda tool at the helm of students' affairs. I don't know if you have a different view. I've followed them for long. I want to be convinced that nukes is a serious student leadership. But forget me, then I'll come to the president.
Sure. Let me use this platform to extend greetings to His Excellency Adam Boachi, who is the current NUGS president. I happen to serve as the chairperson for the organizing.
His election was controversial.
I happen to serve as the chairperson for the organizing committee of NUGS current administration.
Great.
So I think from where I'm coming from, I'm not so much comfortable with the
my
statements.
Comment. But do you accept that?
I understand you because over the years, NUGS has been a division of either an NDC or an NPP caucus unit that is used to project the interest of a political party. But I think for the past 3 years that I've been actively involved in NUGS activities,
things are changing.
Things are gradually changing. I must emphatically state this on air. It could be that at the student front, we have a lot of access to information. We have a lot of student leaders who have now seen the activeness of NUGS current administration. The past can be buried because for everything to come out as perfect, it needs to go through a whole lot of processes.
Yeah, that's
some may be good, some may be bad, but at the end of the day, what is the focus of the union? We've had NUGS actively working now. For instance, issues about UTAG. On the Monday, the president had a meeting with the president of Ghana, and they raised so much concerns on issues affecting the students, but they were assured that on the following day the strike would be suspended because government would reach on a negotiating table with UTAG, and we see it happening now. I wouldn't want us to conclude by saying that NUGS is a joke. It has never been a joke. But when interest comes ahead, personal interest comes ahead of a collective interest, it has a negative influence in the relevance of a body. I believe this administration is projecting the image of a collective good because it is made up of student leaders who have been nurtured from several individual political caucuses, and they have come together to make sure that they project the interest of students. If we want NUGS to work very well and we want to project the image of NUGS very well, we would equally plead with the media to find way to have access to enough and adequate information about the union. For instance, if an issue comes up, before we draw a conclusion. Because how you present your something that is of importance to you as how people respect it. So for instance, if we sit here and we conclude that NUGS is a joke, it gets to an individual person who has also heard of NUGS, was thinking it's a national body that effectively disseminates information or negotiate with government on students' interests to also conclude that basically that is it, but not.
So how can we? I want to conclude on this news issue. It's a very serious issue.
Yeah.
How can students? I'm a student, and I'm telling you this. It tells you thousands of students and their perception. Just as teachers, especially pre-tertiary teachers, they see NAGRAT consent as just one of those things because the interest has not been achieved. The purpose, the objectives of forming such groups or unions. How can NUKS market itself to prevent such perceptions?
Okay, I'm not disputing the fact that the relevancy of NUKS has been on the low for some time, but I think it's about leadership.
Okay.
We students must come to the point where we should assess the activeness, or we must assess how I'm losing the word I want to use.
A lot of messages coming from.
We need to know who is competent for the work. That is what I want to use.
So
it's
choosing
elections.
of leaders.
That is it. Because the leadership of the union has an influence on the decisions the union would take. We shouldn't just elect individuals on the basis of personal affiliations with them.
A lecturer sent me a message and he said, okay, he said, can we get videos of this program? I like the question and the response, one of the best student level communication. I want to ask the leaders, NUKS as itself has been disappointing for recent times. What is their plan for the future of NUKS? I think I've just asked that, and Baffour has given me a response.
There is a rebranding for NUKS, and as it stands now, we are seeing it at our students' level.
Somebody, a student is asking, Ferdinand, when will you get NUKS leadership on your show to question them for us? Baffour is giving us his response, but I think there's a need for a lot of messages coming through. I think there's a need for me to get NUKS leadership.
I'm not sure that would be a problem. We can just get you a contact of the press and info secretary, then you can take it up from there. Maybe I'll leave.
I think my producer will work on that.
All right,
and then he will get the leadership. Let me hear your final words. A lot of messages I can't read all. Okay. President, your final word.
Okay, so what I would say is for our students who have actually been resting or probably preparing themselves for the exams, what I would tell them to do within this short period is to adequately prepare themselves, because as it stands now, I believe the school's management is putting in place mechanisms to bring a new examination timetable. And I know some may feel like, okay, they can keep on resting and everything, but I mean, we've already spent enough time at home. Currently, what we are asking from our school's management is to give students at least a week, because the strike had a psychological impact on our students. So that is basically some of the things that we are looking at. You asked a very important question. I don't know whether I could just chip in on that, on the role of student leadership and how we can make it more attractive like it used to be. I think there is a reason why in those days, I mean, in the 70s, 80s, they were relevant. You can take
very relevant. If you go to research, you could realize that NUKS has been very relevant.
Yes, you can take a cue from the circumstances by then.
Okay.
I mean, Ghana was having a military rule. Certain policies were unfavorable to the young ones and the country as a whole. So it was needful for these bodies like NUKS, UTAG, and that is what made them relevant over the years. They were able to get to a certain pedestal, but those that have taken over from them in these years, maybe it is not as though they are not working.
The atmosphere has changed.
Exactly. So if there is let me just try and delve into Ghana's history a little bit. If there is a military rule and there are unfavorable policies, of course people would protest. Now we have a democratic rule. I doubt, though there are so many certain policies that don't really favor people.
The one against freedom of speech, the media has been suppressed.
Exactly. You don't expect the vibrance to be the same. That is not to say that NUKS and these bodies are a joke. What I would suggest we do moving forward is to involve these student leadership bodies in matters of national discussion. I have actually gone on several.
So the media, we should not only be calling the elderly people, but we should always get the younger ones to also speak.
That is how it should be. former U.S. president once said something. Let me just quote. He said, "The future promise of a nation can be determined by the present prospects of the youth." If, as a country, the media, which plays a vital role in national development, involves the young ones like the SRC presidents, NUC's executives,
To speak on
for us
national issues.
Exactly. I think that is a way of revamping the spirits of these leadership bodies. And at any point in time, if they have issues at their respective jurisdiction, I believe that those that are supposed to help resolve these issues would pay rapt attention to them, because they know now they've been able to get to where
That pedestrian where they can speak on
Exactly.
national
So
issues.
the media could equally play a part. And you made mention of the fact that people don't really know what is happening in NUCs. If you are a student leader and every student leader basically acquaints himself with matters of student
Politics, yeah.
And for us, what we usually see happening is the bloggers, they are the ones that actually project these bodies. But you have summer radio and all these big radios projecting the achievements of NUCs, letting Ghanaians know that these are the things that NUCs and UTAG are doing. I doubt that is going to be, an issue. It's going to be a
So
thing of the
it's
past.
all boils down to the media.
Media has a part to play, and we also
So
have a part
media student relationship.
to play. It should be strengthened. It should be strengthened, because I remember when this UTAG strike came, I actually went on several radio stations, and people were starting to ask, okay, these SRC people, UTAG, we didn't even know they were that good. We didn't know they were that vibrant. So it should tell you that if the media had been
Opportunities
doing if the media had been doing these things over the years, I think at any point in time, if any issue comes up, being it a student-related issue or a national issue, if these student leadership bodies voice out, being it an SRC, UTAG, or NUCs, I believe that those that are supposed to listen to their concerns would definitely listen to
Great.
them. Yeah.
Academic Affairs, your last word as you say goodbye.
Thank you very much. I would end by saying that as student leaders, we need to reclaim our independence as people and as leaders, and we must do away with excessive partisanship, and we must also do well to leave a legacy that one day people can point to and say, this person did that and it benefited me. But on to the many students watching us from the University of Ghana, I'd want to urge them that we are working assiduously to ensure that academic activities are restored, and I am employing all of them. They should take their studies seriously. We might be taking the exams come next week, and as a matter of fact, we urge them to prepare very well so that they will not be taken by surprise, and we urge them to stay safe as the COVID-19 is still live and all that. So thank you very much.
All right. How has the feeling been in the studios for the first time? Summer radio. How has the feeling been?
I think it's great being here, having my colleagues. These guys are people I've been with for a very long time. So whenever I have discussions like these and they're around, I think it sort of makes you comfortable. And these are very good or solid leaders that I think at any point in time, any other media house could call on them for them to,
to add up to it, I think there is a need to applaud the host too, because we've had an intellectual discussion that is devoid of a particular political interest, or it's been an open session, and we've exchanged ideas and found resolutions to pending issues that has been hitting both the
people are requesting for the video, so
the
we shall work on that.
The student body and the nation as a whole. We will just appreciate and encourage you to keep it up and give the platform to the student leaders. I'm certain they have a lot in them to communicate.
All right. All right, sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a great morning. Speaking with young, vibrant people, students. I want to say thank you to my production team. Summer 106.9 FM. Your favorite show, The Forum, Saturday morning, social, political, and current affairs. My name is Ferdinand.
UTAG Summer FM 106.9.
Thanks to my production manager, Nana Baffour. Have a good morning. My general manager, my number one producer, Coach Petra Sali. Good morning. Production team, the sports crew getting ready. King Josie, thanks for the production. DJ Louis, thanks. Any other person behind the scene, I say good morning. And until then, au revoir.